Tommyinnit has responded to Dream. Today we're going to see just how bad Dream really is. Sort of. Additionally, I wanted to save a video specifically for Tommy's response just to measure the double standards and dishonest behavior in regards to the Dream controversy, which has to be the most insufferable drama of this month.
If you've been off the internet the past couple days and haven't kept up, basically, if you're one of my subscribers, Dream has called you a slur. So deal with that how you want.
Immediately, Tommyinnit does this incredibly thin-skinned soy call to action where he bluntly informs his fans that they have been called a slur, as if that really matters in the grand scheme of things, which is a completely first-world problem to care about realistically. Not to mention the potential issues that may come from telling your audience that someone has called you a slur, quote-unquote, and deal with that as you will, quote-unquote. While I personally don't see this as being a large issue in particular, there is some criticism to give here. These are the type of people to poke, prod, sneak diss, and be disrespectful for months on end, but cry when their behavior is directly challenged by someone. Yet now, you're making your audience expressly aware that this occurred and they can deal with it as they may, which is a bit irresponsible and just shows that you're fine with others potentially being harassed, but can take a bit of heat yourself. As a matter of fact, this entire situation just sort of boils down to this. And to be clear, I don't think that in any way, shape, or form these individuals will go out of their way to harass Dream, and I don't think there's a very large possibility of it occurring either, but that's besides the point.
Let's talk about you calling all my fans the R-slur. You can't throw around the R-slur, mate. You just can't. My mum worked with adults with disabilities, and since I was 12, I volunteered with her. These are real, fucking amazing people, who I think of like family, who actually get called this slur. And you do not just throw it around. It's impossibly immature and reckless and sets such a shitty precedent to everyone. Shame on you, man.
This high and mighty, better than thou behavior is so pretentious and performative. Do you really want to be the type to get hung up over the word retard of all things? If you want to have that anti-ableist, holier than thou attitude, then you better be ready to remain logically consistent across the board. If you're going to hold this word to such high standards and severity because it affects wonderful people who are disabled, then surely you'll have the same consistency for words like moron, imbecile, or idiot, correct?
I mean, my friends are all idiots.
After all, those words were phased out by psychologists in the past for the same reason the word retard was. People can argue that we don't hold those words to the same standard as retard socially, and that they're less severe, but why? Why is that the case? Because those words got adopted to common speech, and it could be the case for many slurs as well. At the end of this point, I don't care if anyone says a slur. Ultimately, it's people who give a word power. Some people may argue that using a slur is meant to degrade a specific people, but even if someone were to not use a slur and just construct a hateful sentence, the effect would ultimately be the same. There is realistically no reason why the word retard should be admonished so much if someone can just turn around and say something like, I hate disabled people. I personally don't say slurs out of my own irrational perception of how distasteful they are, but this huge some words are worse than others act that people do, including Tommy, is mostly performative in my opinion. I also want to add, this is not a huge deal for me, and it shouldn't be for anyone, but I do find it fun to point out these performative behaviors that are rooted in some sort of moral inconsistency.
You slagged off a lot of my pals. Come on, mate. I mean, my friends are all idiots, but they have bloody good hearts. However, with your group, I cannot believe how the George stuff from a year ago went down. I cannot believe the response to it online. It's disgusting. It's sexist, man. And you and your friends' references and the way you talk about women behind the scenes has been so sexist too. Shame on you guys.
This is literally what I was saying. Tommy goes, my group good, your group bad. We're not sexist or ableist. Also using the Katybug situation as leverage and how disgusting it was along with the sexist remarks. Way to virtue signal over a case you know nothing about. Katybugs provably lied, changed her story, and changed the standards of how she should be treated to make it seem as if George was being predatory, saying freshly 18, while also telling stories in some of her videos about how she was happy to be an adult and being capable of legally drinking in England. That entire situation was opportunistic as she pretended to be vulnerable and was maliciously given alcohol underage while she happily went to England to go bar hopping months earlier. I have a whole video about her inconsistencies and lies too. Go watch that for those of you who really think Tommy is in the right here. This is honestly just such a disgusting attempt to take the moral high ground over Dream and demonize their group for how they treated the situation. And honestly, it's incredibly manipulative.
Now, mate, talk about me and you. You've basically spent the past day calling me a dickhead. And look, pal, I have made mistakes. And I'm going to make loads more. But the difference is, I give a shit. I'm trying. I'm putting in effort, and I really care. And I take responsibility when I've fucked up.
Yeah, guys, I've made mistakes, but at least I'm better than Dream because I try. Tommyinnit and Dream are really just two sides of the same coin. Guy with an insane ego attempting to morally grandstand over a guy who also has a massive ego and got fed up with the other guy's constant shit talk.
Dream. 4 years ago, you were awful to me. When I was 16, you gave me YouTube advice, and you held that over my head for years. You didn't treat me like an equal, and you made me feel small.
If this is true, Dream is in fact in the wrong for this. This type of behavior is very childish and immature. I personally find it incredibly distasteful. But regardless of that, if you believe yourself to be this morally superior individual as you convey in this video, then realistically, you should have been the better man here and not say, hey, you've been horrible to me, and now I have the right to do the same to you.
The Dream SMP, a lot of your success just wouldn't have happened without me, streaming every single night on the server and caring about everything as much as I did. And you made me feel small about that. And I was a kid. Shame on you, man. And you knew what you were doing, because I've watched you do it to other people too. And if you didn't, and that was just an accident, then fucking hell, man.
Again, I have to say, if this is true, I sympathize with Tommy and do think that it's a shitty thing to do, but I disagree with the notion that he is majorly responsible for the success of the Dream SMP, although I could be wrong. I also have to say that you probably shouldn't be implicating someone of having the intent to use people for their own means if you don't know that yourself for certain. That paints an incredibly bad picture of the type of person Dream is when, realistically, the vast majority of people looking into this don't know the interactions that occur between you and him or him with others. If he made you feel small, then sure, you have the right to be upset at him, but if Dream's claims of you taking pot shots and lying about him are true, you probably shouldn't be surprised when Dream has some sort of reaction, even if he berated you. Allegedly lying about someone isn't justifiable.
I'm nearly the age you were when you met me, and if I acted the way you did to a 16-year-old who looks up to you, I'd be so ashamed of myself, man.
Okay, Tommy, how exactly did Dream treat you when you were 16, since you want to emphasize that? Making that type of insinuation and framing your complaints in this way is incredibly dishonest and reckless. That's not to say that Tommy isn't entitled to his anger here. That's not to say that Tommy is insinuating something more rash or that he's saying something not here. It's more to say that this is pretty performative, especially when you consider that this is the context to what follows.
Now finally, Dream, mate. You harassed my mum as she was going through a divorce, the worst time of her life. You tried to harm the relationship between me and my mum, and if we weren't best friends, with the shit that you were saying, you probably could have really harmed that, mate. You are like a proper movie villain. I have watched you take advantage of vulnerable people and use them to benefit yourself. I have watched you lie to fans, to me, to people, and take no responsibility afterwards. You are incapable of taking any criticism. You refuse to change anything about yourself. You reframe everything so that you are the victim.
In what way exactly did Dream harass your mom? If you're going to make claims like these, you at least need to provide a form of evidence. If your evidence are the screenshots that were leaked on Twitter based on that entire situation, I don't think a disagreement constitutes harassment. I hate to speculate, but again, this just appears as if you're also framing this in the most indefensible way possible for Dream. You're like a proper movie villain, mate, taking advantage of people. What does this mean exactly? What type of movies are you watching where Dream just being an asshole to his friends is considered to be movie villain behavior? I'm going to repeat myself for the millionth time, but this is hardly something that means anything without additional information or evidence. Also, let me just take a moment to reflect real quick. It is kind of embarrassing that I resorted to covering nothing petty drama over people being upset at Dream saying a slur, but this performative outrage, double standards, inconsistent behavior from all people involved, including the fans, is incredibly irritating, and someone needs to say it. Anyways, back to the point. This type of loaded language and insinuations of Dream is a type of dishonest behavior that sort of feels reminiscent of I'm Alex.
4 years have gone by, and the rest of us have grown, reflected, really tried to better ourselves and learn after going through that incredibly overwhelming experience together. And you've reverted to saying slurs and punching down. It's not just me that feels like this about you either. Most YouTubers do. I'm just very loud about it. I really hope you're not a genuine bad person with a bad heart. But mate, you need to get off the internet now. Go and get some therapy. Spend some time around your loved ones. Go on a walk. Look after yourself. You being an arsehole right now doesn't mean you will be one forever. But fucking hell, man. With great power comes great responsibility. And you just don't ever seem to take responsibility for your actions. Figure your shit out, man. Because how you behave right now is just not going to cut it. Right.
We're at the end of the video now, and at this point we pretty much have come full circle. This entire situation revolves around one group of petty people considering themselves to be morally superior to an individual they consider beneath them because they said a slur, getting angry about Dream punching down, even though by Tommy's standards, Tommy is his own made man, successful without Dream. Tommy and his friends have shit-talked Dream for ages, and now it's punching down when Dream makes one meme shit post that happened to include the word retard. Which is it, Tommy? Did you carry the Dream SMP on your back and are equal to Dream? Or are you actually beneath him and he punched down on someone smaller than him, going as far as to tell Dream to touch grass, go outside, and get therapy over Dream simply being an asshole? Most people are assholes. This entire video and the way you frame things is asshole behavior. The way you like to talk shit about people on podcasts and then get worked up when people shit talk you back and cry bully is asshole behavior. At the end of it all, I think this drama is pointless, it's incredibly petty, it's embarrassing, I'm ashamed of the fact that I covered it at all, but my irritation at how dishonest and performative all of the people in this situation are surpasses that. I honestly believe that Dream might be an asshole and maybe an incredibly easy to hate individual, but everything in this situation is far more hateable. That's all I got for today. Later.